right. Again, welcome to each of you. Welcome to our September 30 minutes excellence session. My name is Kimberly Meadows, and I am the training director here at the National Association of Workforce Development Professionals. If you are not familiar with our 30 minutes of excellence sessions, this is a session that we do on the fourth Wednesday of every month. We bring in different presenters from throughout the country, and we highlight and talk about different workforce topics. So thank you for spending the next 30 minutes with us. I am excited to introduce our presenter for today. We have Trent Griffin-Braaf. Trent is going to, I'll let him tell you all a little bit more about himself. And he'll also talk through some of the logistics about how the session will work. But at this time, I will turn it over to Trent. And just as an FYI, this will be recorded. So if you want to go back and view it, or if you want to share with your network, it will be recorded and available within the next 3 days on our Not Up YouTube channel. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Trent. And Trent, the floor is all yours.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Kim. And thank you guys for allowing me the opportunity to share some space with everyone. My name is Trent Griffin-Braaf, and I am the founder of the Success Map Initiative. And we've been able to help so many underrepresented and underemployed populations through the Roadmap to Success program, which you'll hear a lot more about today. And so, with that being said, thank you. And feel free, if you have any questions, you could drop them in the chat just so you don't lose them. But we'll also have some Q&A at the very end for everyone. And so let's get it started. And so as you see, this is the first slide here. It just says the pathways to employment, reintegrating historically underrepresented populations through this roadmap to success. We could go right along from there. And just so you guys know, that is actually a picture of my team at Tech Valley Shuttle. As you see, it's made up of all age groups, demographics. I'm Trent Griffin-Braaf, the executive director and founder of the Roadmap to Success program. It's a comprehensive career development initiative designed to empower historically underemployed populations, really focusing on first motivation and hope, then personal development, and then knowledge sharing of the best practices in the corporate world. In addition to this, I also work with business leaders and their frontline managers, teaching them how to have success with these same populations. I find that this holistic approach has helped business leaders who oversee thousands of New York State employees, and I want to help you guys in the same way. We could go to the next slide. And so the objectives for today's session. We're going to understand the benefits of integrated underrepresented groups into your workforce. We're going to learn a little bit more about the Roadmap to Success program and the effectiveness of it. And then we're going to explore some actionable strategies for improving hiring and retention rates of these underserved populations. We could go right on to the next. And so, what if I were to tell you guys today that your next top performer is someone who has been traditionally overlooked? Well, that is what I'm sharing with you guys today. And as you see, I go inside of the prisons. I work with the incarcerated population. But right in the middle of this picture, there's a picture of me. And I, too, at one point was an incarcerated individual. I had a 12-year prison sentence. And upon release, I can tell you guys there was a lot of discriminatory hiring practices, which led me being underemployed for years. And so I know how many organizations overlook me being one of their next top performers. And there's nearly 2 million other individuals who are incarcerated right now who are going to be released at some time who can be your next top performer. We could go to the next. And so if you guys aren't familiar, the hidden workforce and who they are, the hidden workforce is made up of individuals with disabilities, new citizens, you have youth, opportunity youth as well as returning citizens. Those are the hidden workforce in America, in which case studies and a lot of statewide initiatives support the need to incorporate the hidden workforce in your workforce if you want to have success in today's workforce. We could go to the next. And so wanted to tell you and break down some challenges that we see faced by different by these different groups. And so what I did is I put together a little case study, and it's a case study based upon individuals that I've worked with or individuals on my team. And so here's a case story when it comes to opportunity youth. There was a young lady named Jessica who was 17 years old who had to leave high school to care for a younger sibling. Her parents, they actually passed away in a car accident. And so after this happened, she faced significant barriers trying to enter the workforce because she had no diploma. She dropped out early. Because of this, and she also had very limited work experience. And so because of this, she really struggled to find gainful employment. Many employers turned her away, just saying like she had a lack of qualifications or experience. And then also without reliable support network and stable housing, Jessica found it really difficult to attend interviews or even follow up on job applications. Um, what that looked like for her is it's a reflection of many other opportunity youth who just seem to face these challenges, these compounded challenges, one challenge over another, including educational gaps, because we see a lot of youth today are not sure if they want to go to college, start a career, or even start their own business, as well as a lack of experience in economic instability. And so because of this, it hindered her ability to gain employment. And so we see a lot of youth and a lot of opportunity youth. And for those who aren't familiar with the term opportunity youth, which I'm sure you are if you're on this call, but that could be a youth that's up to 24 years old. And so we see that many of these youth lack experience. There's a lot of stigmas around them in the workplace of them or bias of them being lazy, as well as just a limited work history. And because of these things, opportunity youth that are some individuals who need to be in the workforce, but oftentimes aren't employed or they're underemployed. We could go to the next challenge faced by another underserved group. And oh, I feel like we might have skipped a beat. I could be wrong, but so and I Kim's gonna go back. Kim, can I guess. All right. So this is just a slide that just talks about the history of the Roadmap to Success program. And just so you guys know, we're gonna go back and address some more of these hidden populations. But this particular slide just talks about the Roadmap to Success program. It talks about our mission and why we were created. It was a short news feature, and basically it talks about my life and how I was someone who was incarcerated. I served a 12-year prison sentence. I came home and I couldn't find a job. My big break, though, came after doing temp agencies for a year in the forms of cleaning toilets at a Marriott. Within 6 years, I went from cleaning toilets at the Marriott to being the general manager. And so my program now, I teach other individuals not just how to get a job. I call it ABC. I tell them, get a job, then get a better job, but then let's focus on your career path. And so that's exactly what I'm trying to teach individuals how to do. Scale themselves up so that way they can essentially go from entry level roles to becoming your next C-suite leaders. Part of the values in this program are really person centered. We really value community. If you want to have success with any of these populations, you have to build your community out, and your community should be filled with individuals who actually have the lived experiences in these spaces. In addition to that, we're all about creating impact and promoting variety in the workplace. And we go with variety specifically because I believe every workforce should have some variety. That's how your workforce gets strengthened. You get to see things from different views. You get to also challenge tough challenges by incorporating different individuals. So variety is key and essential if you want to have success in the workplace. And that's what the Roadmap to Success program does. We could go to the next. So, how the program works. And Kim, I think we might have skipped a couple of slides. I could be wrong, but do you mind just trying to go back like 2 or 3 slides? Because it says we're on 13 already. Yeah. All right. So after the slide where we talked about the incarceration, there we go. Yeah. So we could go right here. So the hidden workforce. The other populations we're going to talk about are people with disabilities, new citizens, and returning citizens. And this slide just really highlights how much of these individuals are missing out of the workforce. Like it says in 2022, only 21% of people with disabilities were employed in the US, compared to the 65% of those without disabilities. Huge gap. For returning citizens, it says that returning citizens make up approximately 17% of the US labor workforce. And they also experience some of the highest of unemployment rates in the country. Um, and then new citizens, we see that oftentimes are hugely underemployed because they come with certificates or they come with licenses or degrees that oftentimes aren't transferable when they come to the country. And so you find a lot of individuals who have tremendous skills and knowledge, yet they're doing more entry level based work. We could go to slide 7. So this is Adam Grant. And I don't think you'll be able to hear the slide, but I have a podcast called Prison Bosses. And I interview individuals who've been formerly incarcerated who are today bosses. And Adam, for instance, served 27 years in prison for armed robbery. Today, he's an executive director of the Brighter Way in Michigan, just highlighting the fact that someone like Adam, who historically wouldn't be given an opportunity in the workforce, and on the interview, he actually went on to say that he went on 30 different interviews, was offered 30 different jobs until they identified his background, and then all 30 pulled those opportunities. Adam had to start entry level, work at first volunteering at the Brighter Way, and then he went on to get an entry level job. Today, he's the executive director. So back to that first question I asked, what if I were to tell you that your next power player in your organization could be someone from this underrepresented group? Adam is a perfect example of this. We could go to the next slide. And so, people with disabilities was another one of those groups that we talked about. And this was a case study of someone named Sarah, a software developer with visual impairment. This is a disability in the workplace. She experienced significant barriers when her employer did not provide the necessary screen reader software, making it challenging for her to perform her job. Despite being fully qualified and having the experience, the lack of accommodations and understanding, and I really want to highlight the word understanding more than anything, from her employer created a frustrating work environment, ultimately impacting her job performance and satisfaction. Sarah ended up leaving that job. And this is a common thing that we see with employers when it comes to people with disabilities in the workforce: lack of physical accessibility, insufficient workplace accommodations, and then the stigmas and misunderstanding. And, like I said, for this one, it was really understanding because I believe in my heart, or I hope to believe in my heart, that if her management and leadership team would have just identified that a simple fix was just putting some necessary screen reader softwares on there, that they would have done so. But because they didn't, or didn't take the time to understand the effects of it, they lost a great employee or associate on their team. We could go to the next. Another group is going to be the new citizens, and we talked about this. Just talking about some of the barriers are the language barriers. We know there's a lot of new ESL programs taking place. We also, as I mentioned earlier, non-recognition of foreign credentials. And I did a case study here of Raj, and a civil engineer from India. But I want to give you guys someone that I know personally. And so I know a family personally who moved to the States from Africa. They were doctors in their country, came to the States, and they wouldn't recognize their credentials. And so ultimately, they asked them to work in the hospital at entry level positions. Both the husband and wife did this because they needed to be able to support themselves. However, they quickly shifted into entrepreneurship, and they started a transportation company called Amazing Grace. Today, now they have a fleet of vehicles. I want to say over 40 vehicles. They're employing others. They're uplifting other individuals. They put an emphasis on trying to help other new citizens. But again, These are two individuals who had tremendous talent and the workforce missed out on them because they didn't recognize their credentials. And this happens time and time again. And so I encourage employers, take a little bit of time to get to know those new citizens in your organization, learn a little bit more about their backgrounds, because ultimately you might have some true rock stars that are just doing more entry level work that should be giving leadership opportunities. We could go to the next. The last one's going to be returning citizens. And I could tell you about myself or Adam, like we did. But here's another case study of a gentleman named Jamal who was a returning citizen. He served 5-year sentence for nonviolent drug offense. He really couldn't find jobs upon release. Despite his efforts to reform and build a better life, he was repeatedly denied jobs. Due to his criminal record, employers were hesitant to hire him, citing concerns about reliability and trustworthiness. So, this experience is not unique because it's one that I had myself. It's one that Adam, who I mentioned, and so many others who I've talked to experienced from a returning citizen. And the big thing that I like to highlight is the stigmas and the stigmas and the discrimination that comes with this with individuals who have histories as well as limited work histories. Myself, I became incarcerated at 19, so I only really had one job before that. I came home, I was a grown man, and so I had very limited work history to start. However, what I try to encourage employers is that with the limited work history to actually take a deeper dive into transferable skills. The same thing that I try to teach the gentlemen that I work with who are incarcerated as well, being transparent, but also explaining the skills that they gathered while they were incarcerated, as well as skills that they just had the experience. Oftentimes, the skills that they have that are relevant to the job that they're in skill development. But I think we're seeing a change. There are a lot of opportunities. We could go to the next slide. We could go to, oh, there we go. And the opportunity youth. We already talked through the opportunity youth. So we already went through the program, the mission and values. And so the next slide is how it works. And so the Success Map initiative has something called the Roadmap to Success. And the Roadmap to Success is where we host all of our curriculums. To date, we currently have over 60 curriculums addressing essential competencies required for workforce success that we offer to individuals who are incarcerated, youth who are in schools, to new citizens in our programs, as well as individuals with disabilities and employers. In case we come in and we facilitate these trainings. Most trainings are typically 120 minutes or 2 hours, in which case we just try to really take a deep dive into these topics. And essentially, our trainings, then we're able to work with employers on staffing afterwards because now we feel comfortable sending, if we did trainings on new citizens, a pipeline of new citizens who could be valuable in your workforce or opportunity youth, et cetera, et cetera. So we also help you with staffing. And I'm sure some of you would ask, well, how can you help us with staffing if we're in a different state? So we have some connections and another success story of a formerly incarcerated individual like my friend Harley, who owns Honest Jobs. And so we're able to use platforms like that and find employers in different parts of the country who actually are second chance employers. I have another friend of mine who operates Our Disability. He very similar, a job board for individuals with disabilities. So we're able to help staffing nationwide in that space as well. And we work with an organization called Rise and Forward Us, Mark Zuckerberg's company, in which case we work with new citizens and we try to help with employment nationwide as well. So we do have legs nationwide to help with all of these populations. The only kicker is we have to work with employers on the training side as well. So that way we know it's a holistic approach. The left and the right have both been working towards the same goals, and we've seen increased success in doing so. Next slide, please. these were a bunch of testimonials, and it's not going to play. I'm happy it won't, because it all play at one time. But these are just some of the graduates of the program, some formerly incarcerated, some new citizens. uh, Greg on the left, he went on to get his CDL. The gentleman right in the middle, we helped him. He was a higher risk individual due to the nature of his crime, found it very hard to get jobs. We were able to assist him with that. The one right in the middle, that was a new citizen. We were able to help her actually get back into college, and so she was taking college courses to continue her career. David, the one to the second from the left, he's a returning citizen who went through our program. We're in college and has a job, full-time job, working at Go. He's a gentleman who we were able to help. He's on to say how now he's a leader in his space, family, and assure that he'll never go back to jail. And so participants of our program has shown a 94% reduction in recidivism rates, or the rate of return to jail, and a 72% retention rate after 1 year with their employers. These were just some examples of employers that we've worked with. We work with some of the largest employers in New York State, like Price Chopper or Golub, who owns most of the grocery stores, the Regional Food Bank, Northeastern Regional Food Bank, as well as Stewart Shops, which would be comparable to like your Wawa, 7-Eleven, or those kind of convenience stores in your neighborhood. But as you see these letters, they just support how much we've done in terms of training their frontline managers, their HR teams, as well as help them with staffing. In each one of these organizations, we've helped them save at least $30,000 per new hire that they brought in through our program. And like we said, their retention rates have exceeded a year for nearly, for over 70% of the individuals we help them with. Next slide, please. And with that being said, that kind of wraps it up. Definitely want to leave some time. I know we only have a couple of minutes, and so I want to thank you guys for your time and attention. I apologize for the little mishap with the technology piece of things, but I'm hopeful that this presentation was able to show the value and help in working with some of these underrepresented populations in the workforce, as well as the value of actually helping individuals go from entry level to become leaders within your org. And if I could be a resource in any way in helping you do so, would love to do so. And let's go ahead and get to some of these questions that I see in the chat. All right. So chat. All right. So let's go down. I'm gonna try to go in order here, guys. All right. So Gabriel said, "What are some of your employment retention strategies in your program?" Um, so great question. So some of the employment retention strategies that are come with the program is really, I would honestly say, starts with understanding. We put a big emphasis on getting to understand the population you're working with. So for new citizens, understanding the journey that it took for them to even get here, why they might have escaped or left some of the circumstances that they were living through, and then helping them understand some of the barriers that's taken place while they've been here. Um, Same with each and every different population. I'm a firm believer in understanding that changes a lot. That's actually helped me become one of the top 100 social CEOs in the country. They say I put people before I put the bottom line, which is true. And it all really has always started with just trying to understand where the individual is coming from. So for me, it doesn't have to be a long out initiative around retention. It really comes down to the individuals who have the pulse of your organization. Are they understanding of the individuals they're leading? Um, I hope that answers the question. If not, though, feel free to drop it in the chat, and we could dive in a little bit more. I'll go on to the next question now that I see here, which is at the end, Trent said they help save employers money. Can he explain how? So, Greg, yes, how we help employers save money? A couple of ways. We're able to show how excuse me, if you utilize WOTC, the work opportunity tax credits, if you pair that along with DOL or Department of Labor funding, that can actually pay for on the job training. So a part of you developing team members is on the job training. When you compare those two things as well as the free federal bonding, we're able to show employers, because DOL will pay for half of an employee's payroll for a predetermined amount of time. A New York State is usually like 6 months, as well as the WOTC tax credit, which everyone who goes through my program for the most part is eligible for nearly $9,000 in tax savings for organizations. You combine those two things right there, you usually end up around $30,000 to $40,000 worth of savings right there. And then when you start to actually take a deeper dive into historical hiring practices and retention rates, you start to understand how much money organizations are spending to actually attract new associates. That number can exceed $50,000 to $60,000 in savings. And so those are just some of the ways we're able to save organizations money. But it's really as simple as working with, your organization, helping you guys get set up so you can take advantage of work opportunity tax credits, as well as positioning you guys so you can take advantage of some of the other benefits and rebates that come with working with different Department of Labors and social services in your area. Hopefully that answers your question, Greg, but if not, feel free to, drop another one in. Let's see, what else do we have here? So the next question that I can see says, the majority of second chance employers are warehouse and fast food companies. What does your program do to expand on the employer pool that offers a more versatile employment options? That's a great question. And it's true. You see a lot of these companies that do that, especially warehousing. But what we do is we actually go in and we work with employers and we build out roadmaps. Every single organization should have an entry level position for the most part, just like every single organizations should have a CEO, executive director, meaning there should be a whole team in between there. And so because of that, it really shouldn't matter the sector that an individual is coming back to work in. What it should really matter is, how do we help individuals go from the bottom of this pyramid to the top of the pyramid, and identify roadmaps to help individuals get there based upon trainings that are needed to get there, credentials that are needed to get there, and then actually working with the population to get those things. And so they can work their way up to those positions. Um, Hopefully that answers your question. The next one that I see here is going to be from, and I'm sorry guys, every time someone drops something in the chat, it like pushes everything back down. So I see there's a lot here. So what was the ABC again? ABC: get a job, a better job, and then a career. That's the ABCs. Kim called it. How did you get started with your own business? So after I worked my way up to a general manager, I started to identify that I was making other companies millions of dollars by seeing the profit and loss statements every year. I took it, and I was identifying an opportunity that there was a casino being built in my area, and so I created a transportation company that would work with the hotel, since that's all I knew, to get individuals to and from the casino. So that's how I started, and then it naturally it transitioned and evolved. Now we're a community-based transportation company. I've had contracts with Amazon doing last mile logistics and warehousing, and it just continued to evolve from there. But it all started with an opportunity, as well as me identifying in the career field that I was in opportunities in utilizing my network. Um, do you assist with tech certificates trainings in your program? We do. So we focus on CDL training in our program. That's why so many individuals get CDLs. We're finalizing a partnership where we're apprenticeship program, so we can continue to do that. I'm also a consultant for the New York State Trucking Association, so I do a lot to get people into that space. But then outside of that, we actually work with organizations to identify partnerships in their area, training resources in their area, so that way they can actually send individuals to get these trainings. As a small business, it was hard for us to afford actually paying for each person to get trained. So I've been able to find unique opportunities and resources out there where individuals can get trained for free or through different government-based funding. And so, the same thing that I go in and I help other employers with, as well as helping them identify nonprofit organizations and things of that nature in their local areas who could be resources for what they're trying to build. Um, and then Xavier, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Um, I think that is all of the questions that I could see, and it looks like it's 2:30, so it's kind of right on time. If anybody here has any other questions, feel free. I did put my email in the chat. Would love to talk with you in more details. And with that being said, I will hand it over to Kim and allow Kim to close it out. But thank you guys again for sharing some space with me. I hope I brought some value today.
Absolutely, you did, Trent, and we definitely appreciate you for giving us this information. And again, if you want to share this or review this at a later time, it will be available on our Nautic YouTube channel. And then I'll also send a copy of our presentation that we have here today to you all as well. So again, thank you for joining us for our September 30 Minutes of Excellence. And Trent, thank you so much for being our presenter for today. And everybody have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday.